Hey Instagram, this is Eeshi-Ra and I'm super excited to share Self-Care Sonics, how to use frequency to heal the body and to really help us with the top 10 issues that we have on the planet today. So I'm going to ask, I've got some lovely ladies here and I'm going to ask some questions about what, okay, is it starting? It's still going. Okay. So we're going to look at the top 10 issues that we have as humans in our Western society, and I'm going to ask the ladies here what is their normal go-to, their normal fix for that. So let's talk about muscle tension. So you're on the computer and you've been working for 2-3 hours and maybe your posture's not great and you're just really feeling it in the neck or the lower back. What's your go-to? So you're on a deadline for your work, right? What is your go-to? What are you going to do to shift your state? And what is it that you could use? You know, what would be the fix for you for muscle tension? And we're talking about quite a bit of pain there, just, uncomfortable. So what would you say? Anyone want to share? What would your normal go-to be?
Stand up and then stretch, walk around.
Stand up and stretch? Yeah, and walk around? Yeah, great. Yeah, and how long do you think it might take for you if you've got a bit of tension? How long would that take to really shift?
Probably like 5 minutes, yeah. Walk around, look out the window, look at the ocean and trees.
Right, about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Someone else, what would your go-to be? You've got muscle tension, you're feeling, hey, welcome. Hey, there's a couple of spaces here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. So we're talking about the top 10 issues that humans face and how we can use sound, the science of sound, to treat that. Yeah, so we're talking about muscle tension right now.
Very relevant.
Yeah, oh it is, good.
Yeah.
So what is your normal go-to then for muscle tension? You're working on the computer or you're...
Yeah, I'm working in the office.
Right, okay, great. And what is your normal go-to when you've got muscle tension? What would you do?
Well, yoga or
Yeah.
some stretching, something like that.
Right, yeah, and how long does that take?
About an hour.
About an hour, yeah. So if we think about it, in terms of productivity, if we are entrepreneurs and we want to get results, we want to get back into our flow, and if I've got to go for an hour somewhere and maybe I'm going to do a massage, right, or I'm going to do yoga, or I'm going to get up and stretch, that 5 minutes may not be enough. Yeah, and that means that I've lost productivity time. I mean, it may be great, you're going, oh God, I really need a massage. Yeah, I've got an excuse finally, But when we think about being in the world, and we think about we're on a flow, we're in a focus, we want to get work done. What I love about sound, and I didn't introduce myself because I'm used to friends on Instagram. So my name's Eeshi-Ra and I'm from the UK originally, and I've been working with sound since 2001. And I'm originally a singer, and I got on my path through a really mad synchronicity. I was given a dream and I was shown that the awakening of the planet through sound frequency and actually using the voice. And if you think about using the voice and you think about everything being sound, well, if I am tuning myself a bit like an instrument, like the guitar, then I can tune to a different frequency, right? I can tune whatever I want, really. It's really about intention, and we can support that with scientifically researched frequencies which get the job done, which they have certain benefits to us. So muscle tension. So I'm going to pass around this fork, and for you watching, apologies, you don't get to feel it, but this is a grounding frequency. And if we think about muscle tension, if we think about how did that get created, it's usually because the energy is going up, yeah? And we're on our computer and maybe our shoulders I'm over exaggerating it, yeah? But maybe the posture is a little bit awkward and we're leaning in or we're leaning back. We're so focused on our work that we're not focused on, our posture, right? So then over time, that will create a bit of tension, right? So if we bring in a frequency, now we have a tool to start moving that energy. When we have muscle tension, what's going on? The muscles are working hard, right? They're producing lactic acid, and when they build up and they then crystallize, then that becomes tension, and then that becomes the crunchy bit that you feel, you know, when you're having a massage. You're like, oh, I can really feel that, yeah. So what the sound is going to be doing is it's starting to break apart that. And when we think about grounding, if we think about our lives, like all of us here, with the exception of you, and I've actually got rubber shoes on. If we all took our shoes off right now, and we just connect, we've got slate here, right? So this is a natural material, yeah? Now, if you were really focused on what just happened when you put your feet on the floor, you should feel a shift. What is that shift? That shift is dropping out of the mind and it's coming into the body, and it's actually, the earth is always sending us messages, yeah? But we have lost that disconnect. So it's about making that reconnection, and it helps us go, gives a feedback loop to the body. It's saying, oh, can you feel that? And you suddenly become aware of like, oh yeah, I can feel my posture's not quite right. Or I can feel like I'm really tight here, and so I'm getting congestion here. You know, it gives us a body awareness. So if we start to ground, then we can start to go, oh, we can start to open that place where the body's holding, where the body's got that tension, yeah? And the body also needs 3 other things. It needs breath, so that we can open up the energy flow. Yeah, we've got the sound starting to knock on the door of the tension, but then it needs an exit route and an entry point where you can bring in fresh energy, and then you know, where the body can go, oh, I can now open a bit and soften a bit. And if I'm really conscious with that, I can go really deep with that, right? And then the second tool is our sound. So you notice I did a bit of a sigh. But if I amplify that and I go, and I open here, what's happening, instead of going, that's kind of here in the throat. I'm a vocal coach and I don't teach singing with the mind, playing, you know, singing with the throat. I coach how to sing with the whole body, yeah? And if I'm using the voice, now I'm starting to open. That's the second point of movement, where the sound is moving energy, the breath is moving energy, our sound is starting to move energy. And then if I've got a bit of movement, it's like the body is bursting to show us. It's bursting to show us at any given point when we have tension and we ask the question, where am I holding? How can I let go? What is it I need to do in this moment to take care of myself? And most of us don't ask those questions. And I got really inspired by Tony Robbins many years ago. I trained with him in London. It's probably like 2010. And he said something really profound. He said, the quality of our life depends on the quality of our questions. So if I ask really good questions, like body, show me, spirit, show me, I want to know. I want the answer to that question. And that's actually how I got on my path. Because I was asking the universe. I actually quit as a singer. I quit the pop industry. It was not my thing. Too many prima donnas, too much ego, too much BS. And I just wanted something good, something meaningful, something that touched me and touched others, you know. And then I started getting into hearing about sound, and I actually picked up a book. I was at a conference, year 2000. I picked up this book, and it was using sound in the lab in Paris, and the cells were starting to emit pink light. And so I started thinking, I'm going to pass this around. I'm very good at talking. So before I get onto that, so you're going to hold it here and feel for that little button. It's the base of your hand there. It's a bit fleshy, but it's also a little bit strong, yeah? You're going to lightly tap, having the weights down. You don't need much pressure, yeah? and then play. Close the eyes. Sound is hugely intelligent. It's always going to seek out the weakest link. Where are you holding? Where are you tight? Where does this sound need to do its job? Yeah? And you'll suddenly become aware of, oh, I'm actually feeling a little bit of a frown in my forehead, or a bit of tension in my belly, or yeah. So I'm going to pass that round. This is a grounding one.
I was feeling that with the thunderstorms yesterday.
Are you
When you were describing that, I was like, wow, that was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like it knew where to go. It's like,
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually,
cool.
the thunderstorms, there's an amazing shift that happens in the water externally, but that's also going on in our body. So it's like, that's why we actually feel, you know, we feel like we've had a shower even though we haven't got wet, right? Do you ever get that feeling after a thunderstorm? You feel like a bit of freshness come in, a bit of energy. Yeah. And this one, this is the biggie. This is also grounding, but it has different benefits. This is for boosting circulation. It's very soothing on the back. So if you've got any back tension, you had to apply a slightly different technique. But again, breathe. Closing the eyes. Now, as I'm playing it on the bones, it's already traveling into the skeleton. Yeah. And even though I may think, oh yeah, my back is needing it, right? But if I've actually got tension up in my left temple, and the body knows that, the universe actually likes to work really efficiently with energy. Yeah. It wants to be efficient. It's all about harmony. The universe is always working harmoniously. Maybe humans aren't so much, you know. But this is why we have sound, because it can be such a beautiful reminder. Yeah. And by giving frequency to the body, it's helping us realize where our attention went. Yeah, where our energy went. And if you think about our world, most of us are left brain. Most of us are on the computer or on the phone, and this affects our brain function. And I'm going to come on to, let's talk about mental focus. So how many entrepreneurs here? How many have got their own business here? Yeah. Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to pass this round. Now this is my favorite frequency in the world. This is a master frequency, and it's a master frequency because it has mental benefits, emotional benefits, physical benefits, and spiritual benefits. Now, I'm speaking here at Balluna, and I'm really speaking to people who are working, right? But even if you're having a bad day, yeah? Welcome!
Welcome, thank you for your warm welcome.
Yeah, come in.
I've learned about traffic.
Yes, traffic in Bali.
Some karma from the past.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, sorry to be late.
It's okay.
I fit in.
We are live and direct, and we are moving forward. So we're talking about 111 hertz. We've been passing around a couple of frequencies for grounding to deal with muscle tension, and we're now moving on to 111 hertz. And this is an amazing frequency for balancing the brain, rebalancing the brain. So I want everyone to put their hands up in the air. Clasp your fingers together, lock your fingers together, and place one thumb over the other, and bring your thumbs down. Now, depending on where your thumb is which side of the brain you're in. So if your left thumb is over your right, then currently you're in your left brain. But if you're in your right brain, then your right thumb will be over. And right now, I'm definitely in my logical brain because I'm trying to keep track of not having my nose. Yeah. So most of us are predominantly in our left brain. And that causes a problem, because that means we are not in touch with our intuitive side of our brain, which is problem solving, big picture. And the capacity, of course, to think intuitively. And right now on the planet, we are going through a massive awakening, and logic is not going to cut it. So we actually need both sides of the brain. So I'm going to pass these two forks around the same frequency, and this actually causes a temporary shift into the right hemisphere. This is research from UCLA, Dr. Ian Cook, 2008, and they found that it caused a temporary shift into the right hemisphere. So by doing that, it's helping us actually rebalance. Can you see that? Yeah. And I'll share a brain switching exercise as well. So again, holding the fork here, not here because it can't vibrate. And you're going to feel for this little bone here at the base of your hand and lightly strike. And you can either place here on the yin sang third eye. It's quite strong there if you're quite sensitive. But we're doing mental focus, yeah? You can also do on the GV20. And to really track what's going on, it's good to close your eyes so you can see. You might actually feel your hemispheres rebalance if you're really tuning in. So pass one around each side so you get an opportunity. So Dr. Dope, he's a German doctor, and he talks about brain switching. When we are using devices, we're using phones, tablets, computers, these actually affect our brain function. And that means that we are challenged with our brain function in terms of we're not working at optimum. So I want you to cross over your arms, for those who aren't holding forks, cross over your arms, and what you're going to do is you're going to massage your eyebrows, and you're going to do this for 20 seconds. You start at the corner of the eyebrow, and you're basically picking up that skin very lightly, not strongly, breathing into the belly, relaxing the body, relaxing the shoulders, and take about 20 seconds to go down to the edge of the eyebrows. And for everyone on Instagram, join me. And you might feel your body suddenly wants to go. And now do the same with the ears. So picking up at the top of the ears and really give it a little tug, not too hard, but just a little bit. This is called brain switching. Check out the website dswitch.com.
Does this have anything to do with the vagus nerve, or?
Vagus nerve is not running through here. Vagus nerve runs around the back of the ears. What you're doing
You can massage the ear to activate the nerves.
to activate the vagus.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
This is like
I
a
thought.
practice you can do too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I sit corrected. Okay, so 20 seconds again to go down to the bottom of the earlobe, and you're just tugging on that. And if you're closing your eyes, you might notice what happens in your body. There might be this dropping into the belly, a relaxation in the spine, and just a general deepening of the breath. Yeah. Now, Dr. Dope, DOEPP.com, he is an amazing German doctor, and he pioneered this technique, and he recommends doing it 2 to 3 times a day to shift our state. And we are a little bit like a frog that is slowly heating itself up, well, being heated up in a pan, and we aren't necessarily aware of the effect of EMF radiation. So by doing this, it helps key us back into a body, and it's also rebalancing the brain. So even if you didn't have a tuning fork, you could still be doing that for yourself. So if we think about mental focus, and you're getting distracted by something, or you're having real difficulty just zooming in on what you need to do for a deadline, what is your go-to? So anyone want to popcorn share? What is your go-to? It's like, what is it that you do to really bring your focus? And how long does that take? Anyone want?
Turn on frequencies.
You turn on frequencies?
Yeah.
Which ones do you?
Concentration.
Okay, very cool. And where is that on YouTube?
And it does help, like, it'll, like, put me in that space.
Put you in the zone.
Yeah.
Great.
Saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
Also going into nature and just taking a breath and grounding, and it actually helps you
That's it.
clear and re-energize faster.
Yeah.
So you're actually doing better work with shorter amount of time than just staying and churning.
That's it. Yeah. And you've also got other effects from devices. You've got using the phone, using the tablet, the light. You know, this all affects our melatonin production. It affects our body. It's if we want to sleep. Yeah, and remembering to do those self-care practices to actually get off the phone, get out into nature, like we are from the earth. You know, it's very much a retraining ourselves to make those connections. So if we are needing to go out into nature, again, you know, how long is that going to take? It may take 5 minutes, it may take 10, but it may take longer, right? So if you knew that you could actually just pick up a tuning fork and rebalance, and actually that's just the tip of the iceberg with this frequency, because there is research which is being done by Dr. Peter Guy Manners post Second World War, and he found that this frequency actually stimulates beta endorphins in the body, which means that it uplifts your mood. So if you're trying to sleep, this is another thing we can talk about. So yeah, by stimulating beta endorphins, this is incredibly good for the body. It's so relaxing, and it can actually help learning disorders. So on a mental level, it works with learning disorders. It can deal with social anxiety. It locks down the speech center of the brain, which means that if you want to meditate, if you want to more deeply meditate, this is very good frequency for that. And let's talk about insomnia now. So if you're someone who is suffering from, anyone who suffers from insomnia here?
Whenever my third eye is too open or I'm too energetic, then like,
Right.
I have bad sleep.
Right, and your energy is just really
Yeah,
high,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you
it's
find
like-
it difficult to come in and just...
I gotta like close my eye. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cram.
yeah. And how long does that take for you to, you know, come into that place where you can just slow down enough to drop off?
Depends how I take care of myself. Like if I go for a walk, or if I like take a shower, or like do grounding exercises, then it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Within
Okay.
like an hour, or just even like lying on the floor, I can go easily into.
That's great. Yeah, beautiful. Well, the Russians since 1949, they've had a therapy called electrosleep, which is working with electricity and working with 111 hertz. And it's amazing for insomnia. I was working with, I have one of my students, I bumped into her, this is a few years back now, and she was saying, oh God, I haven't been able to sleep for months now, I'm exhausted, and I'm really struggling. And I looked at her and I said, but you've got the 111 hertz fork from me already, right? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, that's amazing for a sleep, right? And she was like, oh, wow, okay. So she'd forgotten, you know? And it's so funny, you know, it's like we can look at our own backyard and we suddenly realize, oh, there's a herb right there, which is going to help me with my cold right now. You know, it's growing. Nature is talking to us. And here she was, you know, she had that fork sitting at home, and I showed her how to use it. And that night, she played it for about 5-10 minutes. So insomnia is obviously it is caused by many different factors, yeah? And sound is one gateway of helping the body relax. But it may also be caused from, you know, excess stress. It may be caused by too much blue light from devices. It may be caused by eating late, or it may be caused by trauma and you know, haven't slept in the longest time. But anyway, 5 minutes after her using that tuning fork, she was off. And then she even slept through the alarm, you know, and she was just like, wow. She was just amazed, you know, and it was beautiful because she realized that she had that tool at home there ready. And the beautiful thing about tuning forks is if you fall asleep, you know, and I'm not going to throw it on the floor, but if it just falls out of your hand, well, I didn't throw it on the floor. It's funny how you say I'm not going to do something you end up doing. You know, if you do drop it off on the bed, you know, it's not going to break and it doesn't need batteries, so it's not going to run out. You know, which is another thing. Okay, so insomnia. So let's look at stress. So anyone here who gets stressed, what is your normal go-to for stress?
I would use EFT a lot.
EFT.
The tapping.
Great. Yeah, I loved
And
EFT.
just in a minute or two,
Yep.
it's released. And I get the source of the stress as well. So it doesn't just go, but I get what was causing it. Then I can use another technique, affirmations or something, to get to the root of it so it doesn't come back.
That's great.
Yeah, that's one way.
That's great. Yeah, and how long does that take?
It's not really the time, because for me it's not about convenience. For me, being here is about healing and awakening,
Okay.
enlightenment. And if it takes 3 minutes or it takes 3 years, then fine, so be it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
just about time.
I'm an Aries, and I'm very, I don't know if you know about Aries, but they're a little bit impatient. So I like solutions which get the job done, and we're in a co-creative space here, so I'm kind of theming it in that way, But yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
I think everyone has their own path and their own methods that work for them.
that's very
And
true.
if they try it and it works, then fine.
Yeah,
And if not, there'll be something else.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Anyone else? Stress,
Meditation and pranayama.
meditation, and pranayama. Great. And how long will that take you?
Depends.
Yeah.
Not always.
Yeah, it depends how much stress you're feeling, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
Exercise.
Exercise. Yeah. Great. So, again, 111, if we look at that, let's now experience 111 in a different way. So we've been passing round the frequencies so you just feel that by itself, but now we're going to work with binaural beats, right? Anyone know about binaural? Yeah? Okay, great. So binaural is the difference between two frequencies. So here we have 147 and 258, right? If you take 147 away from 258, you get 111, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Now I didn't bring all of them, but I have 18 forks and they all work with this 111. So now it becomes a very dynamic experience, because you are now working not with one frequency, but you're working with 3 frequencies. Yes?
Yeah, so I guess you just answered my question, but if you have 2 frequencies, you're creating one together, like so you're creating 111,
Yeah.
but also you have another frequency and another.
Yes.
So 3
Yeah.
working together at once.
Yeah, so if I was talking to an audiologist,
Yeah.
we wouldn't call it a binaural beat. We'd actually call it a dichotic tone. That's what they know as, yeah, exactly, Gecko. And but there's another way of also describing it. You can describe the difference between the two, a difference tone. And what's going on is you play each frequency to your ear, and then what the body does is subtracts the difference and it creates the 3rd frequency inside you. So it's now biologically activating inside you.
So you're just taking in the 3rd.
The body's creating the 3rd.
So
Yeah.
your body is using the 3rd frequency, but it's not using the 2.
It's
that makes
it's
it?
absolutely, it's using all of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then you also have the summation tone, so you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
these
yeah.
2 together. So you add those 2. And once you start, like if we went completely down the rabbit hole of science and we looked at when the book came out about solfeggio in 1997, Healing Codes of the Biological Apocalypse, it sounded a very dramatic title. And I was like, really? But what was interesting about that, when I actually looked at all the codes and I looked at the difference tones, I looked at the summation tones, I actually then compared it to, anyone know about Rife, Royal Raymond Rife here? No? Spooky 2? No?
I've used it, but I don't know the specifics.
Okay, well, we have, like every, like a key to a door, there is a frequency to treat pretty much every disease, right? So, where was I going with that? When we, yeah, so I was talking about this. When I was decoding them and looking at the frequencies that were produced, I noticed that a lot of them were pathocytic frequencies for clearing disease, and were clearing heavy disease, disease which is like, I don't remember the long list, but it's quite a few, a lot of the most serious diseases that we have, right? Patho means pathogen, from pathogen, and acidic means relates to suicide, genocide, so it's the ability to kill a pathogen. And what you're basically doing is it's a bit like an opera singer singing to a glass, and that glass exploding, hitting that point of resonance, which then it basically makes the cell membrane of the pathogen explode, thereby killing the pathogen. And that's really handy. I've actually had E. coli food poisoning. When I was first making this Unity codes, when I was first making this audio, I ate an egg sandwich. I bought this egg sandwich and it was so interesting. I got sick within an hour of eating it, and I'm just on the toilet and throwing up and just unbelievable. And I was working with the producer and he said, oh well, you know, why don't we check the frequency out and treat it? And I'm like, but I don't know what I got. And my mind wasn't functioning, you know. I was like, how are we going to do that? And so I couldn't really work it out with my mind. And so I ended up staying at the studio overnight. And the second day comes round and he says to me again, he said, well, why don't we work out the frequency? And I'm like, but I don't know what I've got. And the reason I was feeling so blocked is if you know about frequencies and disease, it's a huge list. And I was just completely overwhelmed at the idea of looking through all these numbers and going, how am I going to work that out? I haven't a clue, you know. I felt completely out of my depth. We're talking about 2008, so it's 7 years into working with sound. So I couldn't work it out. Third day rolls around and he says, come on, you know, we need to work this out. You know, and I'm just about to say the same thing, like, oh, but I don't know what, I can't guess. And then I tricked myself. I was like, okay, if I actually knew, what would it be? And I started looking down the list. I went, E. coli, okay, 10 frequencies for E. coli, number 7. He starts generating a tone through computer speakers out towards my body, and the only part of my body that vibrated was my stomach. And it's starting to do this, and it's really starting to go. And then it feels like a bit like that alien movie where that, you know, that creature comes out of the belly. And then it just went. And within an hour, all my symptoms shifted. And an hour later, I was able to drive home. So sound works. It's elegant. I love it because we can get the job done. So I'm very good at going off on a tangent. So let's do the binaurals, as you can see. So you're going to hold the 2 forks with the spheres, and you're going to tap on the edge lightly, and then crossing over. Keeping the forks relatively close so you can really feel what's going on there, and notice, see if you can notice what's happening inside your body. So I'm going to pass these round.
So was it hip and then cross?
Yep. So line them up so that they're lined up like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then lightly tap one on the other. And use the breath so that you've got a bit of movement into the body.
Have you figured out the Bali belly frequency?
Well, yes and no. I'm really a fan of those little yellow pills, the Chinese herbs, which shift the pH. You can try those ones. Yeah, different frequencies. Okay.
Doesn't matter which one on which one?
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. So we're now working with the 18 Zobe tuning forks, 12 pairs. Thanks for joining. So lovely to have some lovely friends there. Hey. So now let's look at, we've talked about stress, we've talked about insomnia, we've talked about brain function. Let's talk about device usage, right? Now, if we are on a phone, if we're on a mobile phone, thank you. Often what we find, and you probably notice it in yourself, that your energy gets up here, yeah? You get a bit ungrounded. Have you had that kind of feeling where you feel like, woo, it's all up here, yeah? And if you have dived a little bit into sound frequency, you would know that some people are talking about the Schumann. Anyone heard about the Schumann frequency? Schumann? Yeah? Yeah, you'd know about your grounding. Yeah. Well, Schumann is the yang aspect of Earth. It is vibrating between 60 and 80 kilometers above us. It's in the ionosphere. It's like a standing wave, and all life on the planet is tuned to the Schumann, and it has amazing effects for us. It can help us protect from EMF radiation. It can actually reset our sleep-wake cycles. It's very good for body metabolism, blood, body temperature, lots of cool stuff, right? Now, it's below audible range, so it's 7.83, yeah? I work with the more accurate form of the Schumann, not the 7.83, a little bit more refined. And so you cannot give it to the body through a fork, because the fork would just be, it's not physically possible, right? So the only way you can do it is through a binaural. So this is what we're experiencing here. So when I was on my journey with sound, I thought, working with these frequencies, I thought, this is all humanity needs. They just need one session. It's a reset. It's perfect. They're on their path to enlightenment. It's activating the DNA. It's all good, you know. And then I created an audio, which is the Unity codes when I was getting sick with E. coli, and and I thought that would be it, right? But then I started looking at. I got into Clinton Ober's work, Earthing. Check out that documentary on YouTube, very good. And he was talking about the shoes that we wear and how that disconnects us. And then I was looking at research which talks about how devices disconnect us. And I got into Dr. Dope's research on brain switching. So I started to realize that we actually need to earth naturally. And so I really went deeply into this. Now, some people who are working with sound frequency, and I hope there are some tuning fork practitioners who check out this video, because Schumann is only a small part of the earthing frequencies that we actually need. It's the yang, so it's the male, it's the masculine vibration, but we actually need the geomagnetic too. Now, have you got the 111? I think she's got the 111 over there. If you can bring that back. So what I'm going to share with you now is the Schumann. So these are weighted forks, so they have to be, thank you sweet, they have to be activated differently. I use the side of my knees, or you can use the top of your knees, gentle, yeah? You don't need much. And again, now with this is a very short binaural, so you'll hear a kind of sound, yeah? And again, if you close the eyes, and you notice, like immediately, my feet were a little bit off. I wasn't fully grounded. Immediately, my body just wants to do that. Yeah. So I'm going to pass that around. So that's the Schumann, but it's with the 111. And 111, it does so many things. It's moving energy. So in addition to you getting that earth energy, you're also getting energy moving. And it's keying into the brain, so it's rebalancing the brain, so you're adding in all these other benefits. And I think a bit like reverse engineering the human condition. Like if we can get the party started, right? Like show me the best way of doing that. I don't really want to mess around. I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to waste my clients' time, yeah? So if you're a practitioner and you think about giving results to the people you're working with, for them to get a deep release, for them to shift their state. This is why I love sound, because it's such a powerful catalyst for shifting the state. Now, Schumann is the yang aspect of Earth, right? But coming from within the Earth, we have the yin. We have to have both, right? We have to have the masculine and the feminine. And this is the geomagnetic, and this is where a lot of people aren't talking about using the yin. So if we have the yin and the yang, then we have balance. Without that, we can actually get sick. So it's really important to have both. So again, tapping lightly. And if you want to get a little bit more experimental, you can move down the body. It's like, where in you isn't grounded? You know, you can play it to the hips, you can play it to the knees. Where in you holds tension? Is it in your belly or is it in your jaw? It's like, if you know yourself, if you're trying to get to sleep, you know, it's like, or you notice when you're having a bad day, it's like, oh, I'm really feeling tension here, or wherever it is. So place these forks on that part of your body. So this is the yin. So I'll pass that round the other way.
I find that like mimicking the tones really helps me because I
Yes.
obviously don't have these tools
No.
with me. I listen to like binaurals and tuning forks a lot,
Yep.
and I like got used to them in my body, and I can just like use my throat to recreate it. And it's like I have more control over what my vibration is.
Yeah.
Like if I need something, then I can use my throat.
Great.
Kind of get into it.
And that's the third tool that I'm recommending to everyone use. Breath sound movement. When we start to now use our voice, now we're taking that frequency inside the body.
Yeah.
And then when you take it one step further, you then can ask the body, how does that want to move? Where does the sound want to go? How does my body want to respond to that? And you're literally then keying into the body's intelligence of how it wants to unravel. What is holding? What needs to let go? What needs to shift? And it's coming back to the power of question. Because when we ask questions, the body's going, oh, hello, I'll show you. You know, it's really, we have to ask questions. So, earthing, this is an audio that I created with these frequencies, right? And the one that I passed around for muscle tension, which is this one, the Om. And this is also clearing energy.
The
Yeah,
Om.
the Om.
Okay, because I was watching this vagus nerve exercise, and they said to chant like the Om or make the Om noise using the back of your throat.
Right.
That's where the nerve, vagus nerve runs. And
Yes.
they said that
Yeah,
helps
you
with relaxation.
Yeah, you've got two branches, but we're talking about the frequency of the Om
Yeah.
as what they, not the sound of it. So we could go Om or your Om.
That's created.
You know, we're talking about a certain frequency. Yeah. And it's actually what, if you sit with Indian musicians and you listen to their tambura or their sitar, if they're not playing with Western musicians, they're tuned to the Om. How do they know? It's like it's the universal frequency, and they hear it, feel it internally. You know, they don't need a piano tuner or a little device to feel that. You know, as to the ancient world, you know, of a way of, you know, if anyone wants to have a look, you can have a look and see what that is. And I'll pass that around as well. This is the tuning forks, 18 frequencies. What's important to know about these frequencies is here, I've just done a masterclass on this online. Anyone recognise this? You might notice it as a temper cross, Maltese cross. Do you recognise this? Temper cross? Or the Fibonacci. You recognise the Fibonacci shell? Yeah. And we've got the DNA in the middle and the sun. So these are, what you're looking at here is the prime number cross. What are the prime number cross? It's a cross where all the primes, they are positioned on the points of the cross. Why is that important? Our whole world is based on primes. Check out the movie Contact, 1997 with Jodie Foster. It was all about communication from another planet, and they were talking in primes. And the frequencies that you have been passing around here, they are embedded in that symbol. What does that mean? Well, it means you're basically taking the codes of the universe, converting it into sound, and giving it back to the body. And so when the body receives it, you're saying to the body, remember, you're connected. You're connected to the earth, you're connected to the universe. And in that place, the body then gets the signal, this is out of balance, I'm holding here, or my posture's out of sync there, you know, I need to adjust. And you naturally, intuitively get the messages of what it is that you need to do to shift your body into a place of more harmonious balance, yeah, and the health. And you'll get those insights. So, yeah. And when we look at, so I have created different audios. I can pass this around. I've got the different audios here. If you, yeah, you can check them out. I've basically been working with different doctors and health practitioners who are specialists in their field. So I basically looked at humanity and thought, what do we need? You know, what are the tools we need? Breathing. Breathing's one major thing, right? So how deeply do we breathe? Most of us upper chest, right? But a lot of us don't belly breathe. If you see a baby when it's first born, it's breathing in its belly. Deeply there. Deeply in the body. Out of the mind, yeah? So breathing. This is working with a Sydney doctor. I'll just pass that around, you can have a look. And it's working with the frequencies in the background. So they're like a reset. So they're helping the body reset. And there is the sound of the ocean, so it keys into the breath. And it's a way of you finding your natural breathing rhythm. And then if we think about muscle tension, energetic massage, a guided visualization, taking yourself through the body and consciously relaxing every muscle. And with the frequencies, that enables the body to get the right signal, getting the right intelligence, getting the right information of what is it I need to do here to actually shift my state and relax the body, yeah? And then if we think about stress relief, this is another one. This is working with hypnotherapy with a dear friend of mine from London, all working with the same frequencies. They're coming. And I'm also a very strong advocate of sexual empowerment. I worked with a tantric sexuality coach for self-pleasuring. So this is a self-pleasuring practice to really honour the body. If we look at culture today, there's a lot of debasement of our sexuality happening. We're kind of in Sodom and Gomorrah times. You know, you've got the trans thing, agenda going down. You've got a lot of the clothes in fashion today are basically making women really sexualize themselves. We've got a sexualization of kids happening, pedophiles trying to normalize, you know, and lower the age of consent. All of these things, this is all part of an agenda, yeah? So if we can really bring back the sacred to our sexuality and actually see that a lot of this tantra is going off the deep end. It's lost the focus. You know, I don't know if I'll get flagged for this, but let's not call tantra, some of this tantra, not all of it, but a lot of it, let's not call it tantra. Let's actually just call it what it is. Fucking around. Yeah? And trying to put a nice, comfortable little label and saying, oh yeah, you know, I'm really free, I'm liberated and everything. But actually, part of that is not a liberation. It's actually a debasement of our sexuality. And if we have multiple partners, I speak from experience, you know, that can get really messy. You get entangled with other people's stories, karma, stuff. You're getting all the download. You know, any partner you have, if they're sleeping around, it becomes a real challenge. So bringing in that sacred element, remembering, you know, and it's really about just being so honouring. I really feel it's something that we are coming back to slowly, but there's more of it needs to happen, you know. And then if we think about resetting these frequencies, how else can they be used? Well, I love the idea of supporting a mother, you know, creating new life in her belly, and also really opening the space for a baby to come. So I have an audio working with a hypnobirthing lady for fertility, and then one for pregnancy, which is a 5 audio series. So as you can see, sound is amazing in how it can actually shift our state. If we think about emotional release, let's look at that one. We talked about stress a little bit, but if you're having a bad day, like one of my particular favorites is anger. I don't know about your life when you were growing up, but certainly in my childhood, anger wasn't really appropriate, but it was expressed in the home, and then it was, you know, slam doors and then silence for like 2 or 3 days. Yeah. And then, you know, anger really wasn't acceptable. And I look at life today, and I look at a lot of us, we're very politically correct, and we struggle with being so politically correct, being so polite, that we don't really speak our mind, you know, and then we maybe don't have the tools of how we can actually release this building up of energy, where we're actually, maybe it's really, we're triggered and we need to let go of that. You know, it's important, you know, to really say, oh yeah, I'm actually really fucking triggered right now. But where can we have a place to do that? So I love offering sound frequency also. If we think about how do we handle that? Well, there are frequencies again for grounding, you know, getting us out of the head, getting us into the body, and using frequencies that move energy. So then when we start giving that to the body can have a shift, and it's starting to move stuff which has just been sitting there, and we've kind of been holding it all in, and I've got to be a good girl, and but it better be quiet, not upset the neighbours, not upset Johnny, you know. And then when energy starts to move, we can then bring different frequencies, you know, to shift our state, you know, and then let go of these old ways. Because if we look at sound and how it relates to a human awakening, where are we on the planet right now? We are moving from a fear-based reality to being, to feeling like we are, when we're in fear, we're in a victim state, and we feel like, oh, the world's just happening to me, I blame everyone for my life, you know, and we're moving to co-creators, so we're moving from fear to love. And when I received a dream, I received a message, and I was shown that it was through the voice, because that is our frequency shifting device, yeah? And we can use this through affirmations like this gentleman was talking about, and we can use it through voice tuning to certain frequencies, and we can use it with intention to actually shift energy, and we can actually ask the body, how can I heal? And the body will actually show us. I have a session, a series of sessions that I offer called Body Sonics, and that actually is moving the energy, and I'm giving the same format to every client, but every client is working with a different part of their body. So they choose, you know, physical issue, and I've had clients where they've come and they've had 7 years of pain from falling through a roof, and they haven't been able to do a yoga teacher training, and they haven't been able to, they've been, you know, really suffering with that. But they come to my door and they're ready. You know those days when you just, I'm ready to drop it. And he came there, and I guided him. We went back to the point of the accident, and I just asked him to ask his body, it's like, you want to let go of that now? And he just, it was like a fire that got lit. And it was beautiful, because he stepped out of that session pain-free.
Wow. Was it by feeling it that he was able to let go?
Well, so Body Sonics works with, I work with these really huge instruments, which basically are broadcasting a frequency to the body. So it's as big as almost as big as the client. So it helps their field start to feel that energy. And then I'm asking him to navigate the feeling in his body, and also asking him to take himself back to the point of the accident, and then to ask his body to release what is ready to be felt. because it's
So
really
yeah, he has to feel it again, right? To
it's not like in the sense of like a re-traumatizing of the
No,
event, but
like
it's going for the release. It's going for what the energy that got trapped.
it has to be recognized, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like with anything, we can't move through something until we have witnessed it, embraced it, accepted it, you know. And it was beautiful for him because he basically went through it, and afterwards he was able to actually start a yoga teacher training.
Have a better life in general.
Yeah, yeah. And I love reframing pain. So if we think about pain, what is pain?
Well, fear.
Huh?
When it comes to emotions, I think it's just fear that's trapped.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of energy that's stuck, right? What were you going to say?
Yeah, like the fear that it just kind of accumulates over time, you know, and then the emotions are like just stuck in it, you know, like, no, I was just saying like emotions that you're like, you cannot release over time and
Yeah.
just keep it inside, and then
Yes.
eventually you just become very fearful of everything because you haven't released it,
Right.
you know, before.
Yeah. So I like reframing pain. So if we call it energy trying to move. So if you give sound, now you've got a really big ally. And if you're using a frequency which is really going to start shifting energy, and it's going to start grounding you, and it's going to start clearing, then that's the first tool. And then if you bring in the breath, now I'm saying yes to this. I'm taking on that experience, and I'm opening up a space for my body to really receive that. And then if I use my voice too, and I tune to that sound, now I'm navigating it deeper inside the body. And then if I incorporate movement, the body actually just knows what to do after that, because the body will just go, oh yeah, you need to do that, you know. And it's not something that you've learned in a yoga class. If we look at, say, a car accident, yeah, and we look at someone who's come in, a vehicle's come in on the right, yeah, and they've hit you from the right side, and so the first thing that has gone into contraction is the right hip, yeah, and then the right shoulder, and then that's knocked out the left neck, and it's also knocked out the left hip and the left shoulder. I might be wrong, and I haven't researched this, but from looking at clients, when we're unpacking that kind of trauma, the first thing that unpacks is the last thing that actually contracted. Does that make sense? So as that contracts, then the next thing unpacks, and then that releases, and slowly you then get back to that original point before the accident. Yeah. So I love how we can use sound, because we tap into the body's natural knowing. You know, the intelligence of how the body just immediately you give it those extra tools, it can really sort itself out. So we've covered a lot of ground. I don't know what time we are. Oh, okay, perfect. So I'd love to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions about frequencies, about anything you like to do with sound.
Sorry, what was the question?
What's that?
Did you ask the question? Or?
I was just asking if anyone has any questions. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Was it, does acupuncture kind of like work in the same way, because it also shifts the energy, and just or like the massage or something? Is that also like the same kind of way of releasing emotion, like the sound healing would do?
It's interesting you mention acupuncture, because a lot of the modalities I've created, they work with acupuncture points. And what they're finding with acupuncturists who are starting to use tuning forks, they're finding they're getting better results with the tuning forks than they are with the needles. And I find that particularly interesting myself, because I'm not a fan of needles. I know acupuncture is really good, and I do still go for it. But it's different, because you are working with meridian lines, and with sound, it's affecting the whole body, and I don't necessarily I will have a point of focus, so I will use, say, different meridian points for grounding the body, for example. But once the sound has gone into the body, the sound is going to then do its thing because it knows where to go. So it's slightly different. I would say it's equally focused, but then it's not, it's very much guided by the choice of the frequency that you use. So if I'm going to use, we haven't done this one. Anyone got any inflammation in their body? Anyone got wounds or anything, cuts, anything you feel? No, okay. Broken bones?
I tried.
Huh?
Is it the wound one?
Wound, this one, yeah. Okay. So this is an amazing frequency for nitric oxide, and this stimulates nitric oxide, which is antiviral, antibacterial, and there is at least 10,000 clinical studies on the benefits of nitric oxide. So I love the science of frequency because I'm finding the right key to the door. And if you go out there and you go to a sound healing here in Bali, or you go anywhere, San Francisco, Byron, Glastonbury, wherever you might go, a lot of the instruments you'll find, they aren't tuned to anything useful. Nothing that the body can actually recognize and use. What you're getting is what I call a unification effect, where someone's playing a crystal bowl, and so that frequency is taking you into a still point where you feel like, oh, okay, that feels good. But then the question is, but what is the frequency you're tuning to? Yeah? If we look at the piano-based scale and we ask a very simple question, how long's the piano been around? Yeah, but not so long, right? It was invented in the early 1700s, about 1720. And how long have humans been around? We've been around longer than 300 years, right? So does it make sense that we would tune ourselves to a piano? Does it make sense that some people believe that, our base chakra is very conveniently tuned to a C of the middle scale of the piano? Really? No. And would it make sense that different tribes of different countries are tuned to different frequencies? If we look at the chakra system, which I believe is a program, which is actually an overlay, which is not part of our divine design, then if you look at the different systems, they're all different. They're all different frequencies. So I love thinking scientifically, and I love getting results for clients, because I want people to come to me and know that money they give me is a wise investment, and they will come out with a result at the end of it. I have been talking online on my Instagram, if anyone's interested, Sonic Life Solutions, and I've been talking about sound healers getting ripped off. And a lot of the industry is selling instruments which claim to be tuned to a frequency, but when you actually check them, they're not even close. They're like 7 hertz or 11 hertz off. I've got people contacting me on Instagram, oh, I want to sell you this, I want to sell you that. I say, great, okay, send me a video. And it's so far off, it's not funny. I'm like, are you serious? I don't mean to be rude, but why would I buy that and try and give healing to a client when I know it's not going to get the job done? You know? And it really saddens me that we are in this kind of world of where healing tools like that are actually being fraudulently sold. You know? So the science of sound is where it gets super interesting. We can get so many amazing effects and benefits. And if anyone's interested, I do have, if anyone's curious about the 111, I will pass this round. And I do have a few here. You can check out the other benefits because there are a lot of them. Any more questions?
No, but I know somebody that does kind of like acupuncture, but with tuning forks. And she's also a medium, so she mixes those two.
Ah.
And intuitively, like goes to the points of the body that needs whatever frequency. And she'll
Beautiful.
get messages from that point of like how to take care of themselves, what their body's telling them, what their guides are saying to them.
Is she
Whatever.
here?
No, she's in Japan. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I've heard that like it's really like a relief for people. Those kind of sessions do.
I love sound because it's bringing us back to ourselves. And if we close the eyes, and then we will get messages immediately. You know, the body wants to show us, and it's a way of coming back to ourselves. You know, it's such a beautiful tool that can really help us. Yeah. If anyone's interested, I have a special offer on Self-Care Sonics. This was just a taster, and I have this course available online. If anyone's interested, you can take a flyer. I've only got 3, so only take one if you're interested. But I have a 15% off voucher if you were interested, and it's 15% off SCS. You just input that on the coupon code on the website. And it's over 16 hours of different ways of using frequency. And it's going deeper into using your breath, using your sound, using your movement to shift your state. And the more we get grounded, the more we get in tune, the more we can help others, and the more we can get this party started. So thank you, everyone. Here's a flyers. Anyone interested, please take.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for those watching. Awesome, awesome.
Take your
So you said that you